Hey, so for this project, I decided to design a Canvas course that would serve as an orientation for new teachers and new hires into our county. And the main focus of this is providing support for instructional design within Canvas, because that is our learning management system. And something that I've noticed new teachers, while they may have experienced Canvas from a student perspective, something that they're not very confident with a lot of the times is how to design a course in Canvas. And so the purpose of this module is really to just kind of get them set up and kind of take some of the cognitive load off of how do I design a whole course in Canvas, and help them break down those tasks into small manageable chunks. So when teachers would log into the course, this is what they would see. I'm going to take you through this in the student view so you can view it as if you were a teacher who was enrolled in this onboarding course. So the home page here just kind of gives a brief overview of the onboarding course and what its purpose is. I also provided a video here with just kind of like the basics of how to navigate the course. So if teachers are more visual, that they can use that as well. And then they would choose where they would start. So module 1 would be more of the district requirements and just the kind of things you have to fill out, trainings you have to complete. But module 2 is where our focus is going to look at. And again, that's really just instructional design best practices within Canvas. So we'll click on that button to get our start here. And again, a brief orientation page just talking about what this new teacher Canvas module covers. Within the module, there are 5 kind of lessons that teachers will complete. Each lesson includes not only information, but requires teachers to complete a small assignment. And we'll look at those more in depth when we go into each of the lessons. So the 5 things that I focused on within this module were course navigation and structure, designing a student-friendly homepage, module organization and naming conventions, designing effective lesson pages, and then the accessibility essentials, especially like features that are very specific within Canvas. Something that I also included was Canvas's course evaluation checklist. This is straight from Instructure, so teachers could also reference that while they were building a Canvas course. And of course, my information if they need more help. So our first lesson is course navigation and structure. And again, there is a consistent structure to how I laid out each lesson, and just to model that kind of helps with predictability and you know what to expect. So that is just for all learners, just to help focus a little bit better. So each lesson is going to have an overview that tells what the lesson is about. So since this one is about course navigation and structure, we're going to talk about how to organize your Canvas course and what are some of the best ways to do that. So each lesson overview, it includes the learning goals, the instructions, the resources where the bulk of the information is. And so here I tried to chunk that material using tabs so that was not a continuous scrolling that teachers had to do to see all of the information. So just to kind of help with that. Any information that I included here, I tried to include a reading option, but also a video option. Same thing for course structure. Wanted to give them an option to read, and these links also include pictures and screenshots, and then give them a clear example of, hey, this is clear navigation, and then here's an example of one that's more confusing for students. So they kind of had an example, non-example to look at. So then we come down to our deliverable options, and here teachers just have to choose one of the options. Again, try to give them different options to just make it more accessible to everyone. So then once teachers completed that, they could go to the next one, which is designing a clear and student-friendly homepage. Again, I tried to model this within the course by having a homepage that they could view and be like, oh, that's what it looks like. And so again, we talk about why is it important to have a clear and student-friendly homepage. Same structure set up, the overview, the learning goals, the instructions. Under the resources here, I just tried to provide a checklist with some non-negotiables, like these things are required in the homepage, but then also some suggestions. These things will make your homepage a lot better. And then I gave links to examples of homepages and even templates that they could use if they wanted to. And we'll look at those in just a second. But also, again, the deliverable options, they would just have to choose one of these options to complete for the homepage lesson. So here for these links, if I click on homepage 1, it will take me to, again, a template of a homepage that teachers could mimic, or they could even import these from the Canvas Commons to use as a template. And I included 3 templates that teachers could reference. Okay. The next assignment is talking about module naming conventions. So this is really just talking about understanding the sequence of learning and how that will take place in their course. Okay. And again, overview, learning goals, instructions, resources. Tried to provide, again, a video and then also some examples of possible naming conventions. Throughout the course, I tried to incorporate accessibility components and model that for teachers. So here I tried to include a table that has a caption, that has clear heading for the columns, and that's formatted in a way that's not cluttered or confusing. But here are some naming convention examples for modules, pages, assignments, quizzes, discussions, and then what are the strengths of each of those, okay? So here, I kind of suggested they could either do it on a weekly basis, a unit basis, or for more of our CTE classes, it may be more purpose-based, might be a better option for them. And again, the deliverable options, they'd have to choose one to submit, okay? Our next lesson was designing effective lesson pages. So this was, to me, was one of the most important ones because that's where the bulk of our time will be spent, is creating those lesson pages. So again, consistent formatting with the overview, learning goals, instructions, and resources. So here, another table with do's and don'ts, okay? And then also providing them, again, with templates of lesson pages that they could follow or that they could even download into their own course. And again, we'll look at those in just a second. Again, deliverable options, they've got options to choose from. We'll look at this. One of the options here was I provided them with a sample page that was cluttered, and they could reorganize that or revise that to make it more clear and structured. So our lesson templates that I included were lesson template 1, lesson template 2, again, just showing that they need to provide structure and clear headings, and that needs to be consistent throughout. Lesson plan template 3. And then this is the sample cluttered page that is one of the options for the deliverables for this class. Okay. Our next lesson is our accessibility essentials. So again, I tried to model throughout how those accessibility features look within a page or an assignment page in Canvas, but then also wanted to very explicitly teach them and have them think about those accessibility features that they would need to incorporate when they were designing their course. So here again, I tried to chunk this information with tabs just because it is a lot of information here. So we focused on heading structure and the proper way to do that. Alt text for images, again with tables and accessible tables. How to do descriptive links and not just click here. And then wanted to talk to them about the built-in accessibility checker that Canvas has, because that is just a great tool, especially for beginners. And again, they have deliverable options here. And I did provide a sample page for them that they could go in and fix if they wanted to. And so again, here's what that looks like. So they could go in and they could fix this up and submit that as one of their deliverables. So again, tried to be very purposeful about how I formatted things and how I was modeling things for them throughout